Hello everyone, my name is Jamie Lindow and welcome to another webinar by Trachty Building Systems. This is our 10th webinar in our series this year and the last one for 2021, and it's about marketing your facility. Now if you watched our other webinars, we talk about construction, getting your approvals, site layout, but this one is a very important one and one even existing owners should look at to see if they're marketing their project right to maximize their revenue dollars. And sitting next to me is Steve Ajewski. And now Steve Ajewski is our marketing person at Trachty Building Systems, and he is way more qualified than I am to talk about this subject. So I'm going to let him present. Now, Steve comes with a background that he has developed two new self-storage facilities, and he has purchased an existing one and had to remarket that. So he will be bringing his knowledge and us helping Trachty people and anyone basically to do well with their self-storage projects. So Steve, it's up to you. Go ahead.
All right. Well, thanks, Jamie. All right. So let's get started with the presentation here. Our topic today is marketing your self-storage facility. One of the first things to start out with is let's talk about who this presentation is for. If you are an employee of Extra Space or some other big REIT, one of the big operators, I'm probably going to be a little bit below you. But for those of you who are owner-operators just getting started, or maybe you've owned for a while and you need to brush up and make sure you're hitting the current ways people find self-storage units, this is for you. By the way, what you're seeing there is one of my sites that's in Wisconsin Dells. And so that is a typical Trachty site right there. Okay, one of the first questions is why do you need marketing? Let's just talk about what our goals are here. Of course, you want to rent more units, but even if you're full, you want to make sure your marketing is at least covering the basics. If you're marketing well, if you're found on the internet properly, that drives higher rental rates.
That's if you have enough guts to raise the rents.
Yes.
And with the inflation going on in the country now, you're crazy not to raise the rents.
Yes.
With your 100% full.
And you want to maintain a good, positive community image. At some point you might be expanding that property, and we want to make sure that that the community knows who you are, that the people who run the zoning commission, the planning commission have a good opinion of you, and to ward off competition. If you're operating a full site with low rates and no marketing or improper marketing, you are just asking for someone to come in and do it better. Okay, so our next topic here. Okay, let's get into what are we going to talk about today. There's free search marketing. Everyone should be doing that. There's social media, again, free. We want to hit the basics on that. Paid online marketing and traditional marketing. And we'll talk a little bit about those two items as well. All right, to get started, before you jump into putting everything out on the internet as you're getting ready to open your facility, we want to make sure we got a couple tools ready to go. First one is photos. Good photos of the outside of the property. If you've got a friend with a drone, if you can get your hands on a drone, drone pictures of a property are really helpful. The people who run the facility or own the facility are often nice. If you're a family-owned operation, a picture of your family out in front of the property is a nice way to generate some goodwill.
How do I get photos on a site when it isn't finished? You get some photo of something or a stock one from Trachty and put it up there to get moving, and then after it, as far as we can get a close color match, and then you go do it yourself.
Absolutely, yes. If this is a brand new facility and you don't have any photos, ask your regional manager from Trachty who you're dealing with, or for whoever you're buying your building from. They should be able to provide you some pictures of a similar project. Just close-ups work well so they can't tell where it is anyway. If you have camper or boat storage, it's nice to show those vehicles going into units too, to really convey it with pictures. Let's see here. Jamie, you want to just talk about this for a second? I'm just going to jump up with the tech issue.
So with the business, you got to first, before you even got started, of course, you made your LLC corporation, you know your company name. You're getting everything, of course, set up with smaller information. Then the bigger thing is you have to get your website going. Okay, and you should get that going a few months before we even get open to make sure you have it done. Now, Tracti has its own website that we have provided, and here's an example of from Steve's right here, and that's one that you can purchase, but in reality, we are changing to go to a lot of the software people are changing it. You want to show them?
Yeah, well, just a little extra background in this. The one you're seeing here from the Columbus Self-Storage, this is an example of one that Tracti has a program set up with Powder Keg. So this is a third party that Tracti works very closely with. It's only available to Tracti customers. Having a website is important. Now, this website I've got it circled here is the Rent Now button. I believe that one of the really important things, no matter where you get your website from, it's very helpful if someone can rent online. This is another example of one that's through the Powder Keg system for Tracti customers. These are very affordable websites, and they can be connected to some of the management software programs. And what you're seeing here now is an example of the actual rental page. The customers can see the unit sizes, they can see the prices, and if one's available, this is tied right into the management software, and they can click on what they want to rent and do it right there online, which is very important, especially if you run an unmanned site. One thing I want to hit on here is a lot of people are afraid of putting prices on their websites. They're afraid that their competitors are going to get their prices, and won't that be bad? Any issues that can cause are far outweighed by getting people to call you, because the typical customer, they're going to...
Who are you kidding? Nobody calls anybody. They're going to just rent it online.
You're right, especially younger people.
Yes, old people call, young people don't.
They're not price shopping you a whole lot. Most people just rent from the first place they contact if there's a unit available. So put it out there. It's to your benefit. Now, this next one is an example of a website that comes through your management software. So that's what I'm recommending these days.
Yes.
If you are using management software, which you should be, if you have any site of any significant size, because management software has become very affordable. A lot of it is priced based on the size of your property, so you should be looking at that. Use the website package that they offer. It's easier. Everything just works together, and they have great websites ready to go. When you get into more expensive management software, or you get bigger, the websites get fancier. You notice the pictures get bigger.
There's a lot of variety of who you get. Look at how they handle their website features, and no matter what, you should get a software program. We don't really care which one. It's just do it because it's going to help you succeed. They will help you win business, make money,
Yes.
be successful, period.
So what are the features that website ought to have? If you're getting one from a management company, management software provider, it's going to have these features. They know what they're doing. But especially for those of you who might be trying to do something on your own. Lots of
Don't do
photos.
that.
You probably shouldn't.
No.
But photos are important, and you need to get good photos to sell your property. Pictures that show your cameras, that show your gates, that show how nice and clean it is. You want to have rates and a move-in process right on there. Online payment. I get a lot of customers who pay their rent through my website every month. A map with the location. And a lot of people don't know what size they need, and if you can have something on that website that's going to give them guidance as to, this big of a house needs this unit, or a car fits in this unit, that's helpful. All right, so I popped this slide in here because if you really want to see what some of the best, highest tech websites are looking like today, go on Google and look for a self-storage unit in New York or Chicago and see what the people who come up first have, because obviously if you're coming up first in those markets, you're doing it right. So that's something to learn.
And you will notice that they will automatically always come up on the pricing page.
Yes.
And they always come up on the pricing page because they want you to rent now and rent immediately.
Yep.
And so that is how you should do business. And that's the way to, without a doubt.
Yeah, that's probably a big takeaway there. Call to action is right on the front. All right, so you have a website, but what else does that website need? Google has a product called Google Analytics. Now we're getting into something that not everyone is familiar with, but whoever's helping with your website should be. So what Google Analytics is, Google, when you sign up for the analytics program, Google will have a tracking code that the person who's making your website can put into that code, into the HTML of your website. And that's going to allow Google to know how many people have been to your website and a whole bunch of other statistics. So be sure to ask your web person to install Google Analytics and give you access to it to show you how to register to see the reporting from it. What else do you need to get started? You need an email address. One of the things I see time and time again is people using emails that don't look all that professional. So an example, my business, this is actually the email for my own personal business, info@columbus-storage.com. The name of the company is in the URL. That's the part after the @ symbol, not before the @ part. So like if I had columbusStorage@gmail.com, that is not a real professional sounding email, but absolutely go a little, to go a little further in the other direction, don't use something personal that doesn't look business-like. You don't want to have sexybeast@AOL.com. That's your personal email. Do not use it for work. What else do we need to get started? You need a phone. I hear of a lot of people who are just starting their business and they actually haven't gotten a phone yet. So you want to think that through. Are you going to get a second
phone? You need a phone number way early.
Way early. Because this stuff, this information you're putting out there, it spreads around. You're going to be doing contracts with phone numbers. So think about your phone in advance. Jamie has a separate phone for his business because he hands it off to different managers. So whoever's holding that phone is answering the calls. I manage one of my sites completely by myself. And so I actually I just used my personal number, which is not always a great idea, but it's just me, so it works. If the caller ID shows up with a number,
I would never do what you did. But
yeah, a lot of people wouldn't, but
I know.
That might cause me problems someday in the future, and I might regret that.
What happens when you get 2 sites or 3 sites? You might never have thought of it. You ever thought you'd get 3 sites? No.
Right.
So this is how we grow.
Right.
So you got to think big right away.
Yeah, my other 2 sites have a different phone that my business partner man uses. The other important thing is once you do get that going, by the way, answer that phone right away as much as you can. If you let it go to voicemail, they call the next person on the Google listing, and someone else probably gets the rental. All right, let's talk about free search marketing. Everyone should be claiming their listing. Now, the 3 big search engines that we'll talk about here are Google, Bing, and Yelp. I have the font size here related to their importance. Google is really what we care about. Bing and Yelp, they're free, so you might as well do it. So when you look at a Google listing, let's say here we put in self-storage in Nashville, Tennessee. What you see here is there's 2 paid ads, and I've circled in red the map and the free listing. These sections are known as Google My Business. They also used to be called Google Places. So this is what we want to get into, and we want to be in there, and it doesn't cost you anything. To try to get yourself listed, you go to google.com/business. So you'll see a sign in item there in the corner. I've got that circled. And once you get in there, I took a screenshot of my own account here. It already has some businesses, but you're going to be looking for a button that says something along the lines of Add My Business. When you do that, it's going to walk you through a process. They're going to have you enter a little bit of information, and you are first going to search for the business. They want to see if it's already in there. Then you'll assign a business name and a category to it. You'll add the location. An important thing here is you need to be putting in the physical location of the business, not a P.O. box. Google's going to be sending you a postcard, and this is their verification to make sure that you are really a business and that you're really where you say you are. And so a P.O. box doesn't work for that. You can't use your house for that. It has to be the listing that you want displayed has to be what you put in. It needs to be the actual physical location of the business. You're going to add some extra details like the hours, the website, and company description as well. Google will send you a postcard that looks like what you see here. You'll get a unique code, and you're going to put that back into Google, and that's going to help. That's going to be what tells them that you're legit, and then you're in.
They may also send you a little piece of plastic that actually it verifies your address. You put it in your house or your office, and it'll make sure you're the exact location that you need to be. I've gotten that on 2 of my sites.
And that's unusual. I've never heard of anyone else getting that. I don't know if that was experimental.
No, because I had more of a country.
Yeah, it might be because you're more urban than a lot of rural we've done.
Rural. Well, maybe urban. Yeah, I got on the Beltline. But yeah, because I had an unusual address with near a township. I don't know, but they gave it to me to make sure I was right.
So Google, one of the interesting things about Google is the way they do things changes all the time. And I cringe a little bit that I'm putting some screenshots of what this looks like, because if you're watching this a year later, it might be a bit different. Google changes a lot, but it's usually pretty intuitive. Now what you're seeing here is actually the admin panel on my storage business, and you can see that there's things we can put in: hours, photos, locations, categories. I've got it listed as self-storage. I've probably got it listed as maybe RV storage, but you can choose some different categories for it. When you're adding your business to Google, one thing I would say is there's a spot where you can write in a description for your business. Rather than just writing that paragraph on the fly, open up Microsoft Word and write a couple paragraph introduction about your business. Spell check it, maybe even have a friend proofread it, make sure it really looks professional, and then save that, because you're going to use it in other places too. So save that on your computer and have that description ready to use. Another thing that's important is when you put your address in, look and see what Google Maps thinks your business address is first, because you want it to match, and you want the address on your website to be worded the same too. Right down to little details. If Google shows you, Main Street, STREET, then list it on Main Street. Write it out. If they have an abbreviation, use the abbreviation. If you have a road that could be either listed by a state highway name or a local, name with letters, try to have that match what's on Google. That does help. It helps search engines and Google to link up that these are all the same place. Your hours should be consistent. If you have different hours on your website than you show in Google, Google's actually probably going to catch that and flag you for having inaccurate information. Now, some of our customers that I help with this will have a problem that they don't have a mailbox, and there might not even be mail service available in some rural areas. That can make things kind of hard. Now, there's an alternate way that we can at least get you on the internet to start with. This is what I've found is probably the quickest way to show up on the map if you don't have a mailbox. And that is, you're going to go into Google and search for your address. There's going to be a red pin that's going to show up. You can see here, I searched for the address of my self-storage property, and you can see the red pin here is what came up. When you click on that pin, you're going to get a little bar on the left, or maybe you end up right-clicking, but one way or another, you're looking for an option to add a missing place. Now, I want to note that right below that option to add a missing place, there's an option to claim this business. If you don't have a mailbox, don't try to claim it yet. Let's first get it on the map. Now, when you tell it you're going to add a place to the map, it's going to bring up a window like what you see here, and you're adding a business as if you're a member of the public, just submitting an improvement to the maps. And you put in as much as you can on here to give them accurate information. And that may not show up right away. What tends to happen with that is Google local guides, and guides are kind of Google nerds who like helping people. And what you're hoping is that someone else verifies then that the information you put in there is accurate. That's why sometimes when you do that method, they show up right away, and sometimes they don't. Now, I happen to be a Google guide, and sometimes what I'll do is I'll put one in under one account, and I'll go verify it as a guide in a different account, and that can help them show up. That's what we did for one of our properties and got it up very quickly. All right. Once you're there, a lot of people will say, well, how do I boost my rank? My competitor is on top. Why are they on top? Some things you can do, and some things you can't help it a whole lot. But one of the best things you can do is have good reviews. So ask people who are happy with you to put reviews out there. When people do leave reviews, you want to respond to them. And those reviews are going to contain the words that are in there also go into Google's algorithms as far as what's important. So if you want to put in the word self-storage, or maybe your city name, someone named Bob says, hey, this was the greatest storage unit I ever used. But maybe you want to, say, hey, Bob, thanks for renting a storage unit. Glad we could help you with your move to Columbus. And so you work in those keywords. All right. Google's got some tools, like I said. They've got analytics. They also have an app that you can put on your phone. And I suggest, I think the more Google tools that you're using, the higher you're going to get. You're going to have good photos. And you can update those photos periodically. And I do believe that participating in the product, updating your listings helps keep you more relevant, keeps you higher ranked probably. The other thing to understand is that there's just a certain factor of where you show up that depends on where Google thinks your phone was when you searched. What I've kind of observed is that the facilities in the center of a city show up higher if they don't know where you're at. But if you're in the west side of town and you search for a self-storage property, it's going to show you the ones in the west side of town. So if your property's on the east side of town, but you're searching from the west side of town for self-storage properties in your city, you're going to get a different result. So don't get too dismayed if you don't show up where you want to. Just keep updating things and keep responding to those reviews and asking for them. I rambled there, sorry.
That's fine.
All right, the next one I want to talk about is, I've kind of walked you through adding yourself to Google. Bing Places, so a lot of people, especially people who might use the default browser on a Windows machine, might be searching at bing.com. The place where you go to add a listing to Bing's search engine is bingplaces.com. I'm not going to walk through this one because it's pretty intuitive, similar to what you did with Google. The same advice applies. The next place that you should be putting it, it might not be the first place you think of to search for a self-storage unit, but this is another free listing. You go to yelp.com, and to add a listing to Yelp, you can see here they have find a product, and then they have a city name. So you can put in self-storage, put in your city name where your property is. It'll come up with a page like this, a results page. I searched for self-storage in Columbus, Wisconsin. Columbus is a pretty small town. I came up first. You probably won't come up if you're a new business. So if you were to scroll down on that page, you would see there'd be a spot where it says add a business. So you can add your business. Again, very intuitive. Just pop that in there, and you'll need to create, if you want to be the business, registered as the business owner, you can create an account with them. I'll mention that of the three search engines, once you create an account as a business owner with Yelp, they will contact you asking for advertising. And when they call me, I just decline. I think that my advertising is better spent elsewhere usually. All right, social media. There's a lot of different social media out there. Facebook, and they own Instagram, and there's LinkedIn, there's YouTube. I feel that of these, for a self-storage business, Facebook is what I'm most interested in. So here's an example of a Facebook page. Again, here's my business. So when you get into, most of our customers probably already have Facebook accounts. In the upper right-hand corner,
Not me.
Well, many of our customers.
Okay.
Your wife has one.
Yeah.
So when you're in Facebook, in the upper right-hand corner, there's a drop-down somewhere where it'll give you the option to create a page for a business. Again, that's pretty intuitive, especially if you've already used Facebook before. And I'd suggest go ahead and make a free page for your business. Put some of those pictures you have on there. And then the next question is, what do you do with this listing? Because, how does a business use Facebook? So I try to post periodically. Here's one where one of my customers sent me pictures. He's so proud of his cars he stored in there. He sent me pictures. And, hey, that's pretty cool if you got a Knight Rider replica in there. That's pretty awesome. If you've got a post that you want to go a little further, there's usually a boost button underneath it. And boosting a post is an effective way of expanding your reach on Facebook. Again, it's pretty intuitive, so I'm not going to get into a lot of details on that, but I do recommend that if you're considering doing advertising beyond the free stuff, that's a place you want to look. Facebook allows you to really reel things into a pretty tight geography because you really don't need to be more than a few miles beyond your town in most cases. Another thing I post about on Facebook if I'm doing something interesting. If we're upgrading something or after a snowstorm and I'm clearing out a foot of snow, It's just interesting stuff. You can share this. Your customers might find it interesting. Keeps you kind of active. And it's one more place to show up on the internet. All these, you've got something like this free social media, and someone's searching for self-storage in your city. If your Facebook page shows up in the results, you bumped someone else off the page. If your LinkedIn page shows up in the results, you bump someone else off a page. So that's good. My boys like to help. This is my younger son, Michael, helping me change furnace filters. So we made kind of a funny post about it, that we're doing maintenance, and that he's our manager in training, we call it. So you can have some fun in a small business like that. The other kind of posts you might do for a business would be specials. Here's an example of one of my big camper units came open, and I just happened to snap a great picture of my customer pulling out of a unit with his dog in his lap, hanging his head out the window. That's marketing gold. People who own campers, it's going to catch their eye. So when you're posting on Facebook, visuals are helpful. Pictures are great, so always be out for those. And when I did that rented that unit in like 4 hours. So that's a handy thing to do. Now, people might not necessarily be real interested in friending your storage business. So boosting them gets you a little more.
No interest of friending your storage.
So boosting them will help you get out there a little bit. In my town, I'm a member of the Chamber of Commerce, and our Chamber of Commerce has a pretty good following, and that tends to help because they share all the local business posts to their group, and next thing you know, all the realtors in town have seen it, and word kind of spreads. The other place, in my town, there's a pretty active, and in most towns, there's usually a pretty active buy-sell trade group, and when you have something specific that might be interesting, you can share it to that if they let you in as a member, if they allow commercial posts, and don't overdo it if you're doing that kind of thing, because then you just annoy people. But an occasional one can help your business. Facebook pixels. If you want to try something called remarketing, remarketing is how, if you went and shopped for tires and next thing you know, tires are showing up in your Facebook feed, that's remarketing. They have a Facebook pixel in their website, and so Facebook knows you were shopping for tires and it's going to show you tire ads. So you can put in those pixels too. Your web guy can help you.
You mean I can ask Facebook to look at anybody who looked up storage and throw my ad through Facebook to them?
Yes.
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 Ugh. But yes, you could do that.
Yes,
I
it's
see
obnoxious.
the benefit, but it's obnoxious.
We
but
all hate being followed and tracked.
Yeah, I know, but you can do it too.
But it works.
Okay.
If you visited Trocky's website, chances are you're going to be getting posts about us having seminars and webinars. It works.
Well, it's okay for Trocky to do it.
It's okay. Yeah.
Okay.
You probably will have your web person help you through with this. This gets a little advanced. But you can see here, once you've got that pixel running, Facebook knows your traffic. They know who's been on your website, and we can follow those people with ads. All right, one of the other things I alluded to earlier is the apps. On your phone, you want to have the Google My Business app. There's a Bing Places app. There's a Yelp app. There's, of course, a Facebook app. But Facebook also has a separate one for businesses. So I do recommend you get those on there. Sign up. The Google one's most important because Google has a feature that people can direct message you right from your listing. And we do get people contacting self-storage owners that way. So you want to be able to do that. You can also take pictures right from your smartphone, update your Google listing. You don't even need a computer to do it once you got the app connected. And you can reply to reviews with your smartphone right away. It gives you a notification. So that's helpful to stay on top of that. Okay. Now let's talk about paid marketing. So you may or may not be doing paid marketing for your business. If you're in a small market, you might not need to. Let me back up here. Google, Bing, and Facebook are probably the three most common ones. I think Google's really far and away the most important. Yelp offers a paid marketing program too. I personally don't do it on mine. I would focus on Google first. Bing can sometimes be effective because not many people think of Bing, so your cost per click might be lower, and Facebook is also pretty inexpensive when you target your audience correctly, so it's worth trying. One of the differences is that Google's targeting people based on what they're searching for, where Facebook might be charging them or doing it based on where they visited websites too. So, all right. There's also paid options. There's Sparefoot. There's other aggregators. These are kind of like the equivalent to a Hotels.com, which might sell leads. I would suggest try doing it on your own first. You might get a little more bang for your buck, and that's mainly what I'm talking about in this webinar. Is let's try doing it on a do-it-yourself version. Now, where do the paid ads show up? When you're on Google, you can see here your ads might show up above the map. They can also show up below the map. And Google also has, sometimes the ads show up on companies that are associated with Google or use Google's ad services. So you might show up in a number of different places. Why would you use pay-per-click marketing? Well, one of the common ones is you're a brand new business and you have a lot of empty units to fill.
And you're panicking.
You're panicking.
Yeah, so you will spend money.
Winter's coming, and you know that you're not really going to rent many units in November, December, January, and so you need to fill this place. Maybe you're just not showing up in the organic search yet. You're not on the map. You need to get in there, and so that's one reason you might. You might be in a competitive market. This is the difference between me and Jamie. When Jamie opened up Beltline Storage in Madison, that's a very tech-savvy market, and you were like on the third page.
Yes.
You needed to advertise.
Yeah.
I'm in a small town. I showed up in the first page right away because it was easy. Another thing you might do, though, is maybe you're trying to extend your geographic reach. I hear this from customers where they say, well, yeah, my business is in this city, but I want to show up in the search in the city 10 miles up the road because that's a big city and that's where the people live. Well, guess what? You're not in the city 10 miles down the road, so you don't show up. But if you advertise, your ad can show up. You can choose where your ad's going to be. You cannot really choose where your organic listing is going to be. And the other thing is, as I mentioned right away, if you have more people interested in storage units and you're driving occupancy up, that increases that can help you support higher rental rates. So
if you have enough guts to raise your price,
right. But you can.
My scolding will continue
yes.
at any time.
But you can, if you have a couple hundred units and you're able to work your prices up, $10, $15, $20 more per unit, times how much per month, times how many units, that quickly can justify maybe spending a few $100s a month on advertising, even if you are nearly full. All right. So where do you go for Google Ads? Go to google.com/ads. If you already have created an account for your regular listing, you're going to use that same account to sign in. There's a sign in button on the upper right. This is what this will look like when you're in here. Now this account already has a few ads. I've got the new campaign item circled there. Google's going to present you a couple different ways to advertise. They're going to offer you, first question that they're asking me here is, what do I want to do with this ad? And so I chose increase traffic. You go through that. Now they're asking me, do I want a search ad, a display ad, do I want a video ad? Now if you have a video, that might be interesting, and if you have good pictures, you might try doing a display ad. But the most basic way is just a plain old search ad, and those are the 2 or 3 lines of text that show up above the search listing. It's one of the great things about Google Ads is it doesn't take a lot of fancy marketing skill to do a search ad. They'll run you through some basics, business name and name your campaign. You're going to be setting a budget. You can try as much or as little with Google Ads as you'd like, and turn it off and on
as much as you like.
As much as you'd like.
When I started, it was $200 a month. Now I'm at $500 for my good one. My other one, I don't do any because I'm full anyway.
Yeah,
I've actually turned it up and down.
In my smaller markets, I've gone around $30 to $50 a month just to dabble in it, and I turn them off.
But in Madison, the cost per ad is so high per click that it burns up that $500.
Yeah. Okay. So once you're in there, you're going to. I apologize.
How do you know what the cost per click is?
You'll see that in the reporting. You can set up. I believe you set a daily or a monthly budget.
Correct. You can do it per day or per month. But if you do it per month, watch out. You could be out by tomorrow.
Yeah.
So you might do it per day. That at least your name's there for 10 minutes a day.
Yeah. So you'll go through the process setting that up. It's relatively intuitive.
Yeah.
And the wonderful thing is if you goof something up, you can always go back and change it. So here Google's coming up in this example. They're suggesting the search words based on my site. You can edit those. So you want to try and have in valid search words that makes sense for your business when you're looking at that. Then you're going to put together an ad, and
When would you start this? The
When
day
would I
you
start?
open? Before you open? I would say it should be when you open.
I
don't
would
do
not
before.
start. Yeah, some people try to talk to us about should we should
Pre-sell.
we
I mean, you
pre-sell?
can, but a lot of those people, nobody has patience unless you're building weird units that nobody else has.
Yeah, most people who call me for a storage unit, they want to move
They
in
just
like
keep
today.
today or tomorrow. So I would just start this once I'm right at opening time.
Yeah.
Or a week or two beforehand at the max.
Yeah, you don't go too far in advance.
No.
Get your listing. Try to get your business listing set up a little bit in advance, so you got the free listing showing up, because that could take you a month to get going. But the ads, you don't really start till you're about ready to open.
Yeah.
What are you going to put in that, a paid ad? You might have a temporary special, like half off your first month. You might be talking about your unusual units, like maybe you have climate control units in a market that didn't have them before, big boat and RV units. Maybe at a certain time of year, you might want to advertise for winter storage for motorcycles or boats, if that's an important thing in your market. But the biggest thing I would tell you is don't offer a permanent discount. Most customers think in short term, and they're interested in what this is going to cost me this month, next month, but they're not. That's most effective for you as an owner.
Almost all deals that would be done by the REITs or everything else is so much off for the first month, but the rates go higher.
Right.
And then they may raise the rates every 3 to 5 months after that.
Yep.
Which we normally, our customers don't do, but
And
that's
you're-
what's out there.
Your management software will typically have a place where you set up what your special offers are, so that when someone moves in with all those specials, that you can just click a button. One thing I want to mention is, and I've run into this with a number of our smaller customers, if you have someone helping you, like maybe a college student or a sole proprietor business, but particularly when you have a college student or a high school student or someone helping you, make sure you have access on your own to those listings. Even if you aren't really confident doing it yourself, but make sure you have that information. I've heard many times of people who had college students or children help them with things, and then they don't know the passwords and they can't get into it, and they're locked out of their own business listings. They can add you generally on all of these. It's not just sharing passwords, but having your own account, and say you've got your own Gmail, and maybe the person who helped you had a Gmail. Make sure that the person who helped you added you as a manager, or more importantly an owner on that unit, so that you have the rights to manage it. And if you have someone who's going to help you and you already have ownership of the listing, you can go in and add a user to it. You don't necessarily give them your password. Sharing passwords with Google today will flag all kinds of security things, and they probably won't be able to get in anyway because it detects that it's a strange IP address. So don't share your passwords, add users. Same thing for your domain name. I do hear often about people who they get a domain name, maybe the web company who did it for them buys it on their behalf, and maybe that company goes out of business, or you want to change companies. Make sure that if you got a domain name through GoDaddy or someone, make sure you're one of the admins on that account, so that you can change it, or change your web hosting in the future. You never know where this business is going to go. Okay, the last thing, let's get into some of the traditional media. People still ask about Yellow Pages, and I still hear about people spending money on it. I wouldn't. I don't have a Yellow Pages. Do you have Yellow Pages
No.
in your house?
No.
You have a phone book?
No.
I don't have a phone book. No one has a phone book. We all use our phones and our computers. So don't waste your money on paper listings. Newspapers. With the declining readership, and I just don't really think newspaper advertising is effective for self-storage, and it's too broad. And the same with radio and TV. Broad methods of advertising a business like radio and TV, you're paying to reach a whole lot of people who aren't in the process of moving. Maybe a billboard. I've seen occasionally.
Well, some people do the flyers. What do you think about the flyers?
Yeah,
I'm a vote no.
I'm not a fan.
Okay.
But community involvement, I think that is important, and it doesn't usually cost a lot. So, if you've got especially when you first open, you got a lot of empty units. If there's something going on where there's a nonprofit group, or there's an emergency of some kind, that is a nice way to get your name out there. You'll typically see, after a hurricane or something bad happens, you'll typically see the U-Haul facilities offering something like a free month for anyone whose life was impacted by a hurricane. But
But when you can become successful, you can actually help people. I give the Boy Scouts free. I give 2 churches free. I give a person that donates and fixes wheelchairs and help community service. Yes, I'm giving a few units, which I feel good about, but also all those people then are re-saying how nice Sun Prairie Self-Storage is.
exactly, and that word of mouth.
Massively, and I don't care that I'm giving them those units. It's
Right.
my benefit to the community. So
Right. The other thing I'll do without hesitation at my business is like when the school yearbook or like the youth soccer or whatever, any sporting groups, they want a couple $100 and they're going to stick your name on a sign or in their program. Yeah, absolutely. I feel that's worth it. And I give back with that all day long. That comes back to you. If there's anything to do to support local festivals, parades, I think that is worth it. And and Chamber of Commerce is a good way for networking too. And the Chamber of Commerce, I mentioned it before, there's usually a lot of realtors in the Chamber of Commerce, and they know people that need storage.
So, you're reading you're watching us here with this marketing. Now, this is the last one we're doing for this year. And next year, we're going to be doing all our normal, standard seminars that I do. And what I've been working on for the whole year, and will continue on until next year, is bring out new, important content that pretty much you would not see in any of the videos we have so far, because I'm redoing everything because all of the massive changes that are happening in our business dramatically in this last 2 years, from when the pandemic started to the changes in everything, especially management styles and how much being online and renting the units direct for people who have no idea what they're doing, but they'll rent a unit, which is awesome, but what implications that have. So if there's any questions about this, now like a lot of what you just talked about, I really don't understand, and I hire somebody to do it because I am not a tech savvy person. And so,
Okay.
So there's going to be a lot of people like me. What do you do with that? I don't know how to do anything. So what do I do?
Well, there are, if you don't want to do it yourself, there's a couple ways. For one thing, if you're a Trocti customer and you want help just getting started, I will help Trocti customers.
Okay.
That is part of the benefit of being a Trocti customer. If you're looking for someone to help you in a long term, especially with a little more attention that we might be able to give with our free help, look at the Inside Self Storage Expo. Look at the vendors who go to these big shows, or your state show. Your state association can hook you up with some of them too. There's a whole bunch of companies that are dedicated to marketing self-storage facilities. They'll usually want to go in at a little higher budget than you might if you're doing it yourself. But there's companies out there. If you got a friend who's tech savvy, they can often help you through what I just went through.
All right. Well,
I did have another question came through. They asked what software we recommend.
Well, there's many out there. You want to buy a software company.
You should buy software,
and most likely use their website to go through it, because it just solves a bunch of problems and steps that you can have. And then that's back to integrated with their gate and everything else, and make sure that's all good.
So if you're at Trocti's website, click on resources, and there's a menu item called Industry Specialists. That'll give you a list of a number of people who have good software packages. The other place, again, look at the Inside Self Storage Expo. Look at their exhibitor list.
Come to one of the shows, because you always broaden your knowledge.
There's many of them, and there's many quite good ones.
And you always want to join the state association, because they're going to make sure you don't get sued, because you're going to follow the rules of whatever state you're in to make sure they will have a format for your lease agreement. That's something we don't talk here, but you got to be working on your lease agreement before you open with your marketing also. What is the future of self-storage? Well, there's a lot of bad decisions made by Americans today. And a lot of them, they're making decisions, and a lot of them helps mini storage. We are booming. Everybody is doing super well because people are changing. They're being more nomadic than they've ever been before. Changing jobs, changing everything. And we are a benefactor. And that isn't changing at the moment. So that is why we are a red hot market at the moment, and I don't see it changing at all for 2022, and we'll see in the future. And it's easy to understand you can get filled, but it's hard to actually get it built. And so you want to add all these numbers, and the problem is that we're having inflation in the country. So you also, that's why I keep harping on making sure if you're an existing mini storage, maximizing revenue so you can pay for it. Because what you built it 5 years ago is not what it's going to cost tomorrow. It's not, no way is it ever going to. So you've got to understand and work with that. And that's a lot of the whole presence of what we're going to talk about in 2022.
Right.
So otherwise, thank you for coming, and thank you, Steve, for your knowledge, which I had none of, to make sure you get it all. And here at Tracti, we hope you get a successful self-storage. And if you have any questions, you can contact either one of us at Tracti, and good luck with your self-storage project.